Right, so the anime for The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim, has released their first look and quite an in-depth sort of piece of information about it, actually. So this was all shown at the Annecy sort of video, Annecy, whatever it was, basically. The 2 minutes
Animation
of footage.
festival. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. The animation, the Annecy Animation Festival. This was one of the first look images they revealed, and I was like, God damn, this looks epic.
It looks great.
Right? This looks epic. Now, they have shown some other pieces of art, which we'll look at in a minute. This initial article from Variety made it sound quite bad, right? And I think that's why, Culture, you probably did that as the stinger, like the war on men, etc. It's all about, as it says here, introducing headstrong Princess Hera of Rohan. And even this, rebellious heroine and fascinating villain. Rebellious heroine, these kind of headlines, they don't sell things anymore, right? They make people go, this is, nah, this ain't it, chief. But this article from Entertainment Weekly is significantly better than the one from Variety. We'll just get to a little bit of the Variety one and then we'll move on. So for those that don't know, the War of the Rohirrim is set nearly 200 years before Bilbo Baggins comes into contact with the ring and centers on the House of Helm Hammerhand, the King of Rohan, with a focus on his daughter, the strong-willed Princess Hera. In the clip, a dispute erupts during a council meeting, leaving Wolf, a ruthless Dunlending lord seeking vengeance. Miranda Otto reprises her Lord of the Rings role as Eowyn, but this time as the movie's narrator. So there's a little bit here. It just says there's such power to the story. This is Kamiyama, the individual who's the showrunner on this. And then that was it, right? This was the article I think that a lot of people saw as, what was kind of doing the rounds. And this isn't that good. This makes it sound quite worrying here and there. Headstrong, heroine, etc. This is a little bit better. And I'm still a little bit concerned, FYI, but it's a little bit better. But I want to show you some of the art first. Scroll down through all this shit. Look, that is beautiful art.
Gorgeous.
That is insane art. Like, I encourage you guys, obviously you can only see it so well on this image and stuff like that, but if you go to the Entertainment Weekly article or give it a Google, it looks brilliant. And there's more here. Really nice. And it is anime, right? This is anime. It's made by an anime production house. It's anime. And this is going to be released in theaters. Where's the final one? There's another piece of key art floating around. Oh, it's covered up by an advert. It's really good. It genuinely looks great. But again, it's that, what's going on with the strong whammon business. Let me just load up the image because I've got it here saved. So here you can see it. Here's all three key pieces of art that they released. It looks absolutely stunning. Can't stress that enough. It looks absolutely great. So anyway, here's the information. It's a little bit better in this article. The new anime tells the story of Helm Hammerhand, the ancient king of Rohan, after whom the fortress of Helm's Deep is named. Of course, the War of the Rohirrim will look very different from Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings. This is anime and producer Philippa Boyens, who, along with Peter Jackson and Fran Walsh, co-wrote the screenplay for Jackson's live-action Lord of the Rings films, immediately saw the potential of putting this story in that format. So the individuals that were on board for the original Lord of the Rings, they're on board for this. So that should be reassuring to a degree.
Not listening. No, Precious, we don't want to hear this. Right.
So it says this. When they suggested anime, that's when my brain really started whirring, Boyens tells Entertainment Weekly. Immediately, the idea of telling the story came to me. They had a number of different ones they were going to pitch me, but I was quite bossy, and I was like, no, I know exactly what this needs. I immediately felt that it would work for anime because it's so character-based and also contained within its own world. It speaks to certain things that work really well with Japanese storytelling. The story of Helm Hammerhand is told briefly in Tolkien's appendices to The Lord of the Rings, and the epic details excited Kamiyama to take on the challenge of adapting it into a feature-length film. So it's his commentary that makes me more excited. So he says the following. This is the story of the most powerful king in Rohan's history. Someone who defeated his enemies with his bare fists. Why did his lineage have to end with him? I think there is a lesson in hubris there, and also for a need for responsibility and awareness in their power. We live in an age where all over the world we face the reality of war again. What then is power? What is the responsibility of those who possess it? Is it something they need to think about by thinking together with those who don't? Quite profound, actually. And I like those comments. And then anyway, Boyens and screenwriter Phoebe Gettins expanded on Tolkien's original story. In particular, they wanted to give a certain character her own name. In the appendices where the story is drawn from, we get these quite interestingly drawn male characters, and then we get this young female character who's never named. And that was really interesting to me. We know Helm has a daughter, and we know that she was central to the conflict that happened. But myself, and especially screenwriter Phoebe Gittins, were drawn to her. We could feel the weight of being that unnamed daughter. This is immediate bollocks, by the way, which immediately piqued our interest. Who was she? How did she live? So the War of the Rohirrim. Helm's daughter is named Hera, and she's voiced by Gaia Wise. The actress says her character bears a stronger resemblance to the heroines of Hayao Miyazaki films, to the rather than the classic Lord of the Rings things. She would lay down her life for her people, comparing her to Arwen and Eowyn. They're already fully formed women. What I loved about Hera is she's fierce, she's complex, she's rebellious. So here's the villain. Hera might have her match, though in the film's antagonist, Wolf, voiced by Luke Pasqualino, is leading the armies of Dunlendings against Helm's Kingdom. We have an exceptionally great antagonist in this story. He's been one of my favorite antagonists to have written across all the films I've worked on. Wolf's strength as a character, according to Boyens, is precisely the fact that he's not an evil wizard or a dark lord like the more famous villains of Lord of the Rings. He's just a human, and in some ways that makes him even more dangerous. He speaks so directly to a lot of the crisis that we're facing today. He's a really fascinating character and exciting too. You don't know what he's going to do. Some of the choices that he makes are just breathtaking in a good way. I'm so sorry that's a lot of information, but I wanted to get it out there contextually so you can sort of absorb it. Again, I'm so sorry it's a lot of information. The initial article, I think, is more concerning. This adds significantly more depth, and it does reassure me a little bit more. What do you guys think?
I mean,
go ahead, Tom.
My first gut reaction is to freak out, right? But then again, I'm also trying to go off of the idea of, okay, when this production was put into production, it was about the same time as the whole Amazon business. And kind of like with people's first reaction to the Gollum thing.
I think this was announced, sorry to interrupt. I think this was announced as they'd already released stuff. So they'd seen how bad.
Yeah, it could even be that. Yeah, I was gonna say, because it came a little bit later in the game, is my point. Like, or it came in at the point where it was before the show had come out, but it was kind of like their slap back to Amazon saying, we're gonna put out some real Lord of the Rings, basically. And this was also kind of like at the same time when Embracer Group, or not Embracer Group, but
yeah, it's Embracer Group,
Earth Productions, or whatever it was, claimed that the rights were up for sale, and Warner Brothers was like, hold up, we still have the rights for the movies. And so it's all kind of time period all is like at the same time. So what I'm getting at here is kind of like with the Gollum announcement, where people were kind of knee jerky about it, going, well, I'm not so sure if this is going to be a good idea, considering you only got like a paragraph or a few sentences to work with for a story. And I'm like, well, I think what they're doing here though is kind of showing up Amazon, right? Because that's the whole point of what Amazon is doing. They're taking just like little bits and pieces and trying to expand upon it. So to me, that was kind of like Peter Jackson and gang saying, here, watch this, what we can do with just a few sentences. Maybe that's kind of what this is. That's what I'm kind of getting to in a roundabout way. Maybe this is their way of saying, oh, well, we can do a strong female lead character too. Check this out. So again, at first, my gut reaction is to go, oh no, it's done for. But I'm going to go, let's wait and see what it is. Because maybe that's what it is their response to Rings of Power, is what I was thinking.
Well, I'll add on that as well before I let you speak, Culture, is these individuals were heavily involved in the original Lord of the Rings. So when they did that swap out with Eowyn and sort of, made her, sort of a bigger part in the story, I'd say if anyone's going to do it, and it's, you can be a little bit more reassured by these people doing it. It'd be these ones, if that makes sense. Culture.
Oh, I'm terrified. I'm starting to get the same kind of sense that I did before. I think this is going to be very. I look. I'm going to say I think this is going to be very female centric. I think you are going to get this story that doesn't exist anywhere, ripped from the appendices to give a name to something that wasn't named before, following a character that wasn't explicitly put into any position anywhere at any time. I think that again we are crafting Tolkien out of whole cloth with this, and that always ends badly. This is this may be Warner Brothers rings of power. I don't know. I was hoping not. Everything that I'd seen and heard going into this sounded great. This new updated information coming out of Entertainment Weekly and other sources has me very, very concerned. I do like the idea that the voice of Eowyn is back. I thought she was really wonderful in the film, so that's kind of good. So, but I mean, I can see good things. Most of this now is starting to make my stomach turn a bit.
Well, did you say Fran Walsh is involved with this too?
Yeah.
Okay. Now go back to the announcement of the, and I understand where you're coming from, Culture, because I had the first reaction the same way. But go back to that whole story when they were talking about the announcement of the two films they're going to do, one being the Gollum movie, the other one they haven't said yet. In that breakdown, they talk about being the keepers of Professor Tolkien's lore, and they really built it up in that way. And Fran has been a part of this since the beginning, right? And so has Philippa. So like these two worked right alongside Peter and in the first films, and so I have a feeling he was really probably closely involved with this as well. I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt until I actually see a trailer, at least, before I go like completely off the rails with, oh, this is going to be nothing but a wham and power thing, because the Eowyn character, like that's kind of the cool story of hers. Maybe she got inspired by something in this tale is what they're going to try and.
Well, if she's narrating it.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. See what I'm saying? Because like she comes out and they say, no man can, how was it that Saruman said? No man can defeat me. And she's like, I'm no man. And that's like, where did she get that idea from? Right? Like something had to spark that inside of her to think that way. Maybe that's what this story is. And again, I'm going back to what I said. Maybe this is them saying, here, hold our beer. We'll show you how it's done. I hope I'm right. So yeah.
No man am I.
No man am I. Yeah.
You look upon a woman, Eowyn. And as Eowyn is Eowyn or whatever the next but that particular speech has always stuck with me, whether it be in print or in the animation or in the actual films. It's one of those things that was great, but the problem is, are you now going back in time and creating Tolkien out of whole cloth? That's not Tolkien. To lift a story and reappropriate it to another female character to hold her up, despite the fact
see where you're coming from.
And again, it's supposed to be about one man for whom Helm's Deep is named. I don't know, Tom. Those are my concerns.
No, and I totally understand that. But like Scott said in the chat, now that Rings of Power exists, nothing can be any worse. So I don't know if you can put it any better than that.
I would also say that, if anyone's going to do it right with respect to the world of Tolkien, it would be these people, right? Like, I'm not saying it's going to be right, but I'm saying if anyone can do it right with Tolkien, it would be these people.
For those of you in the chat, I'm just going to let you know, I'm tired of not liking things. I'm tired of already knowing what things are before they come out. Okay. It's frustrating to me. I don't want to hate on things, but unfortunately, the moment we catch a whiff of bologna sausage, we're like, no, thank you. I've had enough sausage.
No, thanks. I understand your reaction, right? Like I'm not. You could still be right.
I'm just putting it in Doctor Who terms. I've had enough sausage. Thank you.
Anyway. All right. Well, that's fair enough. That is fair enough. There you go. War of the Rohirrim. It is going to be released in theaters this year at Christmas time. So they're going hard on it. So they clearly believe in it. The 11th of December and the 13th of December this year. Pretty huge release date for an anime being released theatrically. A Lord of the Rings anime in theaters. So I think they believe in it. Very clearly they believe in it with the moves that they're making. We will have to wait and see. We will have to wait and see. But now, because I'm not going to say what I normally say, we're going to...
Moving right along.
Oh, God, it's so difficult not to do what I normally do.
We're going to put that to bed. That's another thing you could say. We're going to put that to bed. Or
Yep, we're gonna put that to bed and move on to another topic. God damn it! Dear, oh dear. It really is difficult. It really is difficult. Okay, so